In the third module of the section devoted to the statement of cash flows, we conclude our two-part analysis of cash flows from operating activities with a closer look at the indirect method. As we will have an opportunity to see in just a moment, the indirect method arrives at exactly the same value for net cash flows from operating activities as under the direct approach, but does so by working back from amounts reported in the income statement. This is typically achieved by adjusting reported profit or loss for the effect of changes in inventories, as well as trade receivables and payables during the period, non-cash items such as depreciation, provisions, deferred taxes, unrealized foreign currency gains and losses, and undistributed profits of associates, as well as all other items for which the cash effects are classified under investing or financing cash flows. So let's head back to the same example which we used in the previous module. A company presents the following income statement in respect of the year ended 31st of December 2016, as well as selected items from a balance sheet prepared as at the same date. As you can see, we are presented with a summarized income statement which shows sales, cost of sales, operating expenses, and net income only. We are also provided with balance sheet extracts which show the level of property, plant and equipment, inventory, trade receivables, trade payables and wages payable. Additionally, the following information is given. Other operating expenses comprise depreciation of property, plant and equipment of €36,000, salaries for the year of €42,000 and a €6,000 gain from the disposal of a fixed asset, which is discussed further below. During the year, the company sold one item of property, plant and equipment, which had a carrying amount of €18,000 at the date of disposal. The result on the sale has been offset against other operating expenses. Our task involves, once again, computing the net cash flows from operating activities, but this time using the indirect method, which should nevertheless yield the same overall result as the one we achieved when the direct method was used instead. Before we begin presenting any real cash flow entries, I want us to graphically break the figure reported as the company's 2016 net gain down into its individual components. So, in the middle, I will have the €288,000 of net income generated, and around it, let's write out the component parts, starting with the positive or gain-enhancing items, so that's sales, which amounted to €1,200,000, and the €6,000 gain on disposal of the fixed asset. Turning to the expenses, we have depreciation with a negative impact of €36,000, the salaries or wages of minus €42,000, and the cost of sales, which produced an €840,000 charge to profit. To utilize the indirect method, we need to start with the reported net income of €288,000. To it, we will apply a series of standardized adjustments with the goal of arriving at the net cash flow from operating activities. The adjustment which you will typically see first relates to depreciation, which is obviously one of the expenses charged to profit or loss and therefore included in the computation of net income. Depreciation is nevertheless a non-cash item, and its impact should therefore be eliminated when attempting to adjust net income to a cash result. This is achieved by adding depreciation back to the profit figure, which has the effect of neutralizing its impact to zero, a fact which we may also depict in our graphical decomposition of net income. Next, we turn to the gain on disposal. The gain itself is purely an accounting number and does not correspond to the amount of cash received for the asset sold. What we need to do is once again clear net income of the impact of the gain, which necessitates removing it by means of a negative adjustment of €6,000, a fact which we may also show in the graphical decomposition. Please note that we make no attempt to replace the gain with the amount of cash proceeds from the disposal, as this should clearly be reported under investing activities, not operating. Next, we perform a series of standardized adjustments which relate to movements in the individual elements of working capital, namely trade receivables, inventory, and trade payables. Over the course of the year, the carrying amount of trade receivables grows by €24,000, and this necessitates a negative adjustment to net income. You should recall from the previous module that this €24,000 corresponds to the difference between the €1,200,000 of sales revenue as reported in the income statement and the actual amount of cash received from customers. Even though under the indirect approach the negative adjustment is posted directly to the net income figure of €288,000, we may clearly relate its purpose to bringing sales down to a level of €1,176,000. That is the amount of cash which was actually received. The next two adjustments are derived from changes in the carrying amounts of inventory and trade payables. Over the course of 2016, inventory grew by €20,000, which causes a negative adjustment to net income. On the other hand, the €30,000 increase in trade payables is reflected with a positive adjustment. The purpose of these adjustments becomes apparent when we relate them to the cost of sales component of the income statement, itself a negative €840,000 entry to P&L. Imposing the negative €20,000 onto this figure brings us down to a level of minus €860,000, which, as you will hopefully recall from the previous module, is in line with the purchases made over the course of the year. On the other hand, the next adjustment of plus €30,000 brings this figure back up to a negative €830,000, which, as we established in the previous video, is equal to the cash paid to suppliers. As you can see, every one of the adjustments posted to net income under the indirect method has the aim of either eliminating the impact of a non-cash item, such as depreciation, eliminating the effect of a transaction which should be reported under a different heading, as was the case with the gain on disposal of the fixed asset, or adjusting the level of an item of income or expense to its true cash amount. Looking back at the graphical depiction of the income statement, we can see that the only item which remains untouched are the wages. However, there is in fact no reason to make any adjustments with respect to this item, seeing as the balance of wages payable shows no changes, a clear sign that the expense included in the computation of net income corresponds to the actual cash outflow suffered. We may now proceed to compute the effect that all of the adjustments which we have written out actually have on net income, starting with €288,000, adding 36,000, deducting 6,000, 24,000, 20,000, and then adding 30,000, produces a net cash flow from operating activities figure of €304,000, which corresponds perfectly to the result which we computed under the direct method in the previous video. Before we finish this module, let's make sure to write out some universal rules concerning the direction of the adjustments which need to be made to net income to take account of the changes to trade receivables, inventory, and trade payables. With regard to the first two items, which naturally represent assets, the adjustment ought to be positive if the balance decreases and negative if it goes up. On the other hand, an increase in trade payables is associated with a positive cash flow adjustment, whereas a fall changes the sign of the adjustment to negative. Please note that these adjustments correspond to the popular interpretations of changes to the individual working capital items. Rising trade receivables are associated with customers not paying, hence the negative adjustment, whereas falling receivables are typically associated with the receipt of cash, which fits in with the positive sign of the adjustment. In a similar way, an increase in the inventory balance may be associated with cash being spent, whereas a fall would generally be interpreted as having a positive impact on cash flow. Finally, an increase in trade payables may be associated with the company taking longer to pay its suppliers, giving rise to a cash saving and thus necessitating a positive adjustment, whereas the opposite would be true if payables are falling.